I'm sure this all makes sense. So, we're getting really close to being done with this game. At least the initial features that I thought of for this game are in place. We have towers. The game is called More Towers. We have towers and barricades, we have marauders, we have archers, engineers, healers, and wizards. Players can queue up. In fact, let me just open the queue right now. And let me go ahead and queue. Right now, we're in demo mode, and if there are no players in the queue, two bots will play against each other. Most recently, I did make the AI a little smarter, so these bots play a little better. This would be like what I did to make that happen. I looked at how dumb the bots were and said, I wouldn't do that. And that became a rule for what they would do. For example, I saw a bot spawning an engineer. Engineer goes walking out into the fray and dies immediately. I'm like, that's dumb. If I were that bot, I would wait until my forces were out in front, basically blocking the enemy from reaching the engineer so they could build something. That became a rule. So I've made the AI a little smarter. They also now use spells because I have wizards. The wizard artwork we did last time has now been translated into spells. We had the wizard, but we didn't have the spells. And the spells are art plus code. It's quite a lot. But now we have two spells. If you have a wizard, you can cast spells. There's a 1 minute cooldown, and I'm pretty sure that's not enough of a cooldown because the spells are really overpowered. One spell is called Gold Theft. All one word. You say command spell, and you say Gold Theft. And a little portal opens up between the two mines, and a big old hand reaches down and grabs gold and gives it from one, steals gold. The other spell is Tree Shield. All one word, so you say command spell and then Tree Shield. This is done in an emergency when the enemy is near your flag. Tree Shield puts a shield around the tree. The enemy cannot get through it. These are both fairly overpowered. So maybe 1 minute is not enough of a cooldown. A wizard casts a spell, and they have a minute cooldown. So the AI is a little better. There are wizard spells now, so wizards aren't just sitting there doing nothing, and that's good. What's left? Well, let's see. I have also made the archers look a little better. Little cosmetic things that needed to be fixed. Like them walking into the tower is no longer watching them moonwalk into the tower, and that's good. So archers do their arching. Engineers build stuff, and they're not that dumb anymore, which is good. They're still weak, and you still have to protect them. Healers heal, and it is neat to see a new tactic emerge where you have a group of healers who heal each other as well as the group, and that is an advancing force that is protected, so it's really cool. The wizards whiz, marauders maraud, so it's good. What's left? Well, I did notice a bug. Not a bug, but it's a second order effect you wouldn't realize. To make the tree shield do what a tree shield does, stop advancing enemy and make them want to attack it, even though it's got like more health than they can damage. It's like 999 hit points. To do that, I say that it's a building. It's effectively, the tree shield is a building. That's how the enemies see it, so they know to stop and they know to attack it, but, you know. For as long as the tree shield is there, it acts like a building. Well, the interesting thing about buildings, it does stop marauders and make them attack. For example, a barricade, they will swipe at the barricade and knock it, try to damage it. But archers can shoot through buildings. So I realized, although I haven't seen it, I know that an archer could shoot and hit, for example, the wizard or anyone else inside the tree shield. There is no mechanism right now to get an arrow to recognize that it has hit a building and stop, because it's never meant to do that. It's also never meant to stop and damage, your friendly forces. It's only meant to hit enemies, yeah? So, I'm thinking I need to get the tree shield to recognize, as long as it's up, recognize when there's an arrow from the enemy that is close enough and basically stop it. I was thinking about bouncing it off. That might be fun. And that way the tree shield is magical and cool and overpowered like it's supposed to be. There are other things about that spell. I might need to actually increase the size of it, because right now it's as if the tree is kind of a barricade. And so the enemy really comes very, very close and can still kind of attack your troops if they've just got spawned and things. So I might want to actually increase the size of it. I think the gold theft spell is working pretty well. I don't need to do much with that. I will demonstrate it as soon as this bot battle is done. There's a minor issue with the archers. They will, on occasion, stop and fire at an enemy, and their shots are just a little too short, so it doesn't hit. In a way, it's kind of cool to see it. It looks like they're, giving a warning shot of sorts. But in a more practical way, they're just missing, so it's not good. Okay. If I do those things, I'm actually pretty confident that I've got... So I'm at a place then where all the features are done. This is a stage you would call alpha. At the end of alpha, your features are implemented in some form, and that's technically where I'd be. After this, you'd be fixing bugs and tuning things, and potentially enhancing some features. So one of the enhancements that I had planned for was upgrades. If you spend gold, you can upgrade troops or buildings, and they can do more things. I mentioned towers had a planned upgrade where you could pour boiling oil. So an archer isn't totally defenseless up at the top of a tower where there's marauders and forces knocking down at the base of the tower. They can pour boiling oil. Upgrades are a planned enhancement, and these aren't implemented. There is an upgrade command, but it does nothing. Upgrades for a wizard is just getting more spells, and that's a lot, but it's straightforward. Upgrades for towers, barricades, there's some design work that I need to do, as well as artwork and code. So it's a big effort to do upgrades in general. upgrades for an archer, for example. They can shoot flaming arrows. They can shoot twice as fast. They could have crossbows that fire a bolt that does more damage and basically goes in a straight line. That kind of stuff. This would be the end of alpha, to have all the features in place in some form. Beta could go for those enhancements. Beta could go for fixing bugs and tuning things. So I mentioned the wizard cooldown time could be tuned to be longer because these spells are actually pretty overpowered. Hey, you see a little intermission stuff right there? Another feature I needed to implement was some amount of user interface and user experience. I need to describe for the player how to play. You know, I know how to play, and I'm working hard to make sure the things work. It doesn't matter how well it works if the player doesn't know how to play. So, of course, there's an effort that needs to continue to teach the player how to play. It's not enough to say, try, command more help. This is what that looks like. It goes by quick. It only tells you the commands really quick, and it doesn't have much context. That little intermission stuff that shows the title and shows images of the buildings and the troop types and things like this. This is more useful because it can people can associate the characters they've been seeing with the names that they need to type out. Yeah, they're going to need to type to do commands. Hello. I've just lost, I think. Sitting here talking and trying to play at the same time. Not doing so well. Okay, I just lost. So, can I actually pull this out? I don't know. Let's stop talking for a second, see if I can win, or at least not die. Do I have enough for a archer yet? I do. Let's retreat. So there is a sense that in order to balance this game well and tune these things well, I need to play it for a while as is, right? With all the features in place, I can now play test it enough to, I said retreat, to find the bugs and to see what needs to be tuned, right? So I'm at that stage. What we could do then is, the enhancements can stay in a phase that is, conceptual. We have the designs we can think about. We can plan for it, that kind of stuff. In fact, like I said, there's upgrade commands that are here, but they don't do anything. If I say upgrade archer, for example, it does nothing, but the command is actually is recognized and understood, yeah? Okay. Need to go get this, sure. There we go. So here's where I would move forward, keep the enemy at bay while I save up enough gold and build a thing. And this is now presumably what the AI is also taught to do. Okay, I could probably just win right here. There we go. Okay, so in chat right now it says use Q to join, right? It's a little bit of logging to chat that I can now control with an admin command. I can toggle it on and off. But the intermission stuff is just kind of helping people who are new to the game, who are just looking at it and you're like, what's going on? The match just ended. So it's an opportunity to sort of give them a little more context. The name of the game is More Towers. Here are the recruit types. Here are the build types, and here are the commands, including recruit, build. Yeah? So let me try this again. I'm going to force end the match. I'm going to queue up. I'm going to actually make sure there is more gold at the start. This admin command is changing the settings of the game. So when players start, they start with more gold. Kind of forgot that when I was playing before. Yeah. So we have lots of gold to start with. In fact, this is enough to spawn a wizard. So I'm going to recruit a wizard straight off. Technically, the opponent could also do that. But I want to show off the spells. Okay. So I just spawned a wizard, recruit a marauder. I'll attack a little bit. And now I'm going to try this spell, Gold Theft. You see the two portals open up, a hand reaches in, grabs the gold, and I get their gold. Nice, yeah? Now my wizard's on a cooldown. I can spawn a whole bunch more troops because I just stole all their gold, or a lot of it. A fair amount of it. Okay. And yeah, they're at a severe disadvantage right now, right? Makes sense. It's an overpowered thing to do this, right? Absolutely. So that's the gold theft. It's a minute cooldown. I think I really need to extend this cooldown to be a lot longer. And potentially different cooldowns for different spells. It's already set up to do that. I just have to think about what that time would be. But since I have a wizard, I can do another spell. I'll do the tree shield just to show it. See if I got it. Tree shield. So the tree shield, I think, might need some adjustment. I need to detect enemy arrows, and I think it wouldn't be too hard to get them to bounce off. That would be kind of cool, too. But at least stop them. I'll do that first. I guess I could and should adjust the cooldown time for the wizard, but here's another thing that it's clear we need to add now. When the wizard is in a cooldown, I can't do another spell. How do I know that? Right? You can't do the other spell, so that's one way you could know. But I should be able to tell before then, right? Having the wizard in an obviously tired animation loop would be really helpful. Like, obviously the wizard needs to rest, right? Then when you say, spell, and it says, no, you can't, it will at least make some sense. Right now, he looks exactly the same, so why can't I? And that's the problem we need to fix. So, could be a couple of things there to fix. Do I have enough for a tower yet? Yeah. I stole gold anyway, so I should have enough. Yeah, see, so any gold that I steal isn't just taking away from the gold they have to use, it adds to the gold that I have. So it's almost like twice as much value. And so I may need to adjust the minimum and maximum that wizards can steal with that spell. I think it's 5 to 15 right now, and that might be a little too much. So every gold piece I steal is a marauder they can't spawn, but it's also a marauder I can spawn. So it's like twice as much. I might just adjust that. Other spells in mind for the wizard include the Dragon Strike. A dragon comes and strafes the ground with fire. An Ice Storm, something that freezes all the enemy for a time. Other things. A Meteor Storm, that could destroy buildings as well, damage them, and as well as hurting characters. But as I say, at minimum I needed 2 spells for the wizard, because if there was just one, it would, no. So I have 2, and so for an initial stage of this game, I think that works. I think it's also important to point out that, like, as we go, we're discovering things we'd like to change with the game. And like I said, it gives a chance to play test the game and see those things that need to be changed. So, okay. I might let this game go, actually. There we go. I'll just recruit an archer and set my forces to hold there, and then transition. Yeah, I will toggle demo back on. I think. Oops, toggle back on, and let's do this. I would like to make sure that the tree shield recognizes that there's an enemy arrow and recognizes there's an enemy arrow and whoa, what? Bro, there shouldn't be any. Oh, this. This script manages all the spells, and for the purposes of, and I did that to make sure that this was separate. Spells are so unique, and I know their effects are so different. It just makes sense to have a completely different tool manage them. Gold Theft, for example, is managing a whole script of actions. Like the two portals open up, the hand reaches in, like gold is spawned and rains down on your mind. I mean, it's really unique. And likewise, all the other spells are like that. So having at least a separate tool to manage them makes sense. Okay, so here, in the case of the tree shield, initialize it to say, give me something that is the effects of the tree shield, and go ahead and put something like a building manager script on it and treat it like a building. It's got a whole bunch of hit points. It is on my side, go. That's what the initialization for this tree shield does. And then every frame update happens. In our case, the tree just needs to sit there and basically wait until the end. At the end, it blinks a little bit to show that it's about to go away. And then it triggers the animation that makes the shield go away. Because there's animation to form the shield, there's animation to make the shield go away, and there's animation for it idling there. It might actually be too subtle. I might need to do something about the visibility of it. But I have a feeling the player's attention will be on the tree anyway, so it might be okay. So, while the tree shield is up, this is called. And this would be a great place to look for enemy arrows. That's my thought. Normally, arrows are in charge of their own thing. In fact, let's look at it. Arrows have their own script. It really just goes forward. That's really all it needs to do. It does rotate as it's going forward. And it looks for enemies. Then it stops. And that's basically the whole thing. It does some damage when it hits an enemy. That's it. Right? Not too hard. But I'm going to need to look for... because I could say, hey, arrow, now you're also in charge of looking for this extra special thing. And I'm going to shy away from that because arrows are doing a perfectly good job doing the normal thing. I'd rather not touch it. Instead, how about this special thing? Let's make the special thing continue to do special things. That makes more sense to me. So I could do it either way. I could have the arrow look for a tree shield and stop. But, I can also have the tree shield look for arrows. So I'll do that. Look for enemy arrows. And what I'm going to do is, if I look at the arrow manager, there is an arrow stopped variable. That's really all I need to do to stop the arrow and quit it from looking for enemies and doing damage and everything. It actually immediately stops doing its thing. If it hit ground or hit an enemy target, it fades out. Set arrow fade out. So this is a private function. I don't have access to this, but I can either make it public or do a special public function to basically force this to say you hit something, even though it's in charge of detecting its own stuff and it's doing a great job. I now have to say, hey, arrow, you actually hit something. It would stop, right? And when it stops, it doesn't do all this, but it doesn't necessarily fade out, and it definitely won't do damage. Well, you know, frankly, I don't need it to do damage to the tree shield because it's meant to be this magical impenetrable shield. So, yeah, not necessary. But what I will say is, I either need to trigger this publicly or set my own function that basically does this. This won't be reached at all because if this arrow is stopped, you know, every frame the functionality ends right there. And so it never reaches any of this stuff to see if it hit the ground or see if it hit the enemy, which it's not meant to do. It's meant to stop, but it's also not fading out. Let me... This, I'm going to say, is a function that is available for other tools like my tree shield called force hit object. And it means, I know you didn't actually hit anything, but pretend you did. Do the stuff you would normally do if you hit it, right? Which in this case just means, say you stopped and fade out. I don't think I need to do any damage. I mean, let's put it this way. The tree shield can handle its own being damaged stuff. That's fine. Well, let's just say. Okay. So this is now a function available to other scripts like the tree shield. Cool. It does exactly what it would do if it hit the ground. That's fine. So arrow done. Now it's time for me to look for enemy arrows and force hit the arrow. Well, cause the arrow to be hit. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. How do I look for arrows? Okay. No big deal. I mean, this is the slow way, but I don't mind. Let me go look for all of the objects in this scene that are arrow managers. Yeah, all of them. So there is a function in the game object class that'll do that. I mean, it'll find any kind of, any type of object. And in this case, I'm looking for the components on game objects. And the type of component I'm looking for is called the arrow manager. I could look for anything. In this case, it's going to give me all the arrows that are currently in the scene, and I'm going to say, cool, hey, check all of these. For each of these, I'll look at each one individually, each arrow manager among all these arrows, and I'm going to say, yo, if this arrow is on the enemy side. I guess another way to say it is, if it is on my side, then I don't care. This spell manager has a reference to the player. Okay. So it already knows this script is actually on the same object that is the player manager, so I'm really just saying, yo player, who are you again? So if this arrow is on my side, I don't care. Please continue to look through all the arrows. Otherwise, hey, you're an enemy arrow. Cool. So now I want to detect if they are close. I'm not forcing here. I need to detect if it's close enough. And if so, then force it. No? Well, how do I know how far away it is? There's a distance, and I'm sure a number like a float would do well. Let's call it dist. Sure. What? What is the distance between this tree shield and this arrow? Well, this arrow has a position. Let's start with that. The arrow manager component is on a game object. The game object has a transform, which means it knows the position. Done. I would like to compare that with this game object position, which is where the tree shield is. Now these are 3D vectors, vector 3s. This class, vector 3, happens to have a distance function, making this quick and easy. This is a very common question you have in your rules of your game. If it's close enough, right? That's a question. It happens all the time. In this case, I can tell how far it is now. This value is now saved as dist, and I can use it. I can ask the question. If this distance is less than whatever number I'm thinking of, I think 1 might be good right now. Each of these tiles, all the sprites are 1 unit across. So actually, it needs to be less than something like half, but I'll go a little bit larger than half. I enjoy Fibonacci. So, okay, this is going to be the case where, yes, you are close enough to be hit. In fact, let's say 1 to begin with, and I'll adjust it. I need to get some arrows hitting this shield to test it, but... So the center of the arrow is in the center of the sprite, and yeah, 1 might be okay actually. Yeah, 1 might be okay. I'm going to go with that. If this is true, then I'm going to force hit the arrow. In other words, I've already determined this is an arrow that is an enemy arrow, and this is an arrow that is close enough to hit the shield. Therefore, I can use this new function I just made. Force hit object. This is the function I just made. Boom. And I think that's all I need to do. I didn't account for arrows flying through the shield, but they could totally do this. This now can be adjusted on the arrow side of things to make sure it's not going to continue flying, it's not going to do any damage to anyone, blah, blah, blah. It is in fact going to fade out like it hit the ground. So it's good. I think that'll do it. In fact, I think I'm good to clean this up. Now that I've scoped out all the code and developed it, I think it's okay. I should test. Just going to clean this up. Okay. So here was a game rule that I realized I needed. Arrows were going to fly through the tree shield and hit the characters that are spawning at the tree. That's not fair. A tree shield should stop arrows. That's a new rule. So now the tree shield, every single frame, looks for arrows, makes sure it's the enemy arrow and not ours, and then sees if it's close enough and makes them stop. Cool. And it does that every single frame. Awesome. I think that's actually pretty good. Now I could go in detail here. This is all in one frame. This is a very instructions to do on a very short span of time. But let's imagine the edge cases where it just appeared. Does this work? Yeah, this works fine. Or it's about to fade out. In fact, there's a part here that talks about blinking the appearance of the shield. Should the arrow still go through it? Yeah, sure. I mean, we could get fancy and say, while it's not shown, let the arrow fly through it. That's kind of cool. But no, we don't need to get that fancy at all. But what if we say, like, we are actually shutting down the shield? Should the arrow go through? I'm going to say it's okay. It's within half a second. So even though we're going very detailed, I'm going to conclude this is going to be fine no matter what. When the shield is actually done, this tree shield update isn't going to run anymore. Actually, let me confirm that's true. Yeah, this tree shield doesn't exist. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we don't run unless the spell is in effect. There's a timer on the spell, so I think it's good. Okay, cool. So that was one rule that we needed to implement, and that's done. Do I have the timing on the wizard cooldown? No, that's on the wizard itself. Okay. Yeah, this is literally just handling the spell, not the wizard. I am indicating that it's within the cooldown of the wizard, though. If I were to look at the wizard cooldown, getting the wizard and other characters to do special abilities, I struggled for a while to figure out where's the best place to put this. What I ended up doing is saying there's a script that handles moving the character around, and so many of the abilities had to do with moving around that it made sense to put it here. That made this simpler script much more complicated because now it handles so many different things. But I still think it's okay. The wizard cooldown time is currently 60 seconds, and I may need to increase that because these are crazy powerful spells. For example, if you steal 15 gold, it probably takes longer than that. Well, it might take almost all that time to get 15 gold back. So, yeah, you could just dominate a game by continually stealing their gold, and the other team doesn't get any gold. That's pretty crazy overpowered. Think about it. At the same time, we do want to indicate, for example, that the wizard is tired and the wizard can't cast spells. They need to rest. They're on a cooldown, right? Well, visual effects could help, but really the wizard's own animation is part of that. So what I'm scanning through right now is for the different characters with their special abilities, they are being told to go places, but also animate in particular ways. So the healer goes into this heal animation state, for example. And here's the wizard casting a spell. Well, he casts the spell, and then he just idles the rest of the time. And this is probably not appropriate. I'm going to indicate here that I should review this. So this would require me making a new animation loop, them being tired. Hadn't really thought about that, but now that I see what it takes to have a player knowledge that there is a cooldown, that they're in cooldown, all that information is just not communicated yet. And it would be better to at least have the wizard show that. I do have feedback saying in text that you can't cast the spell, but I don't think it's very descriptive beyond that. In other words, it would just frustrate the players. Okay, so I implemented a thing. I suppose the next step I would do, by the way, just like, free wizard, hold on, there was something else I wanted to do. Let me explain what this is. So this is me casting the spell as the player. This is a function I call because the player actually gave the command in Twitch. It gets to this point, and we check to see that there is a free wizard. This is similar to what we do when we build. We check to see if there's a free engineer. This is a similar function. Among all the characters, which ones are on my side, which ones are wizards, and which ones are not currently on a cooldown. If so, then this is a free wizard. Return this. So now I have one. They have a free wizard, all that stuff. So if this is, I guess this could literally be, that's free wizard. Because I developed that later. So this is, if you do not have a free wizard, then return false. It's the same thing. I need to use this variable anyway right here, so same thing. It's fine. So there was something else about this though. Are they alive? Right. I realized you could cast a spell right when the wizard is like dying and it would totally work. So I need to do this. Is it on my side? Yes. Is it a wizard? Yes. So I do need to check to see they're on a cooldown or not. Not on a cooldown. That's what the exclamation means. Not on a cooldown. But I also need to see if they're alive. In other words, every character also has a combat manager on it. Combat manager. And this does know how many hit points this character currently has. The moment it's at 0 or less, they are going to die. So I can ask how many hit points you have. Make sure it's more than 0. Okay, so now we went through all the characters. It's a character on my side. It is a character that is a wizard. They are alive. In other words, their combat manager says they have hit points. And they are not on a cooldown. Okay, now that's a free wizard. Okay. So otherwise, this would have allowed people to cast spells from a dead wizard. That's wrong. Can't do that. So, that's what I mean. When I reach this stage where there is the game playing, and hey, that's cool. We have all of the features implemented in some form. Yay, that's cool. But now's the case where it really helps to stop and play test the game a lot and for the rest of the time, because you're going to see bugs like this. You're going to realize bugs. I wasn't even playing and I was thinking about this and said, oh, wait a minute. I don't check to make sure they're still alive. This could still do a spell on a dead wizard from a dead wizard. So it's kind of like just sitting at this stage where things are running and you're at least thinking about it, if not playtesting. You begin to see these things. I mentioned before, I've seen the bots now do a tactic where they spawn a bunch of healers, and as a group, the healers go out and heal themselves while they're attacking, which makes them kind of overpowered. It's a really neat tactic. Now, I didn't think of it before, but now I can see it. We called it an emergent strategy, emergent gameplay. It's just the same rules, but it's done in a way that we hadn't necessarily thought of yet. And it gives me a chance now to say, like, hold on, is this something I need to dial back? Is this something we need to tune the other things against so that there's some balance in the game? Does this make the game imbalanced, right? And without seeing that, I wouldn't know. So it's really good to play test and see and sit with this game as it is for a while. So we are coming up on the end of 6 weeks. From the start of this idea to right here, 6 weeks to make this game that we're seeing play at the bottom of the screen. And that's pretty good. Not gonna lie, I'm happy about that. It's called More Towers. We have towers, that's good. It's a good first step. We have the ability to knock towers down, that's great. We have the ability to put archers in the towers. That's great. We have wizards. We have healers. Wait, does one side have over 99 gold? Oh my goodness. Yeah, they've been stealing gold. I can see a wizard on that side. Oh, okay, so good to know. Maybe this is completely overpowered. In fact, I kind of want to immediately jump in here and change this cooldown because it's a little too much. It's a little too much to say wizards can repeat that spell in a minute. That's kind of crazy. Let's set the cooldown to 2 minutes. That's better, I think. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's like I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, that's kind of aggressive. Okay, so from now on, I mean, this game is gonna continue with the same rules. But for example, this archer could actually hit the wizard, even if they get the shield up. One of the things that I needed to do to the AI, the bots that are playing as players, they needed to be smarter and do things better, but they also needed to now use wizards appropriately. Yeah, wizards are weak as heck, so you just got mowed down. But part of that was recognizing when there's an emergency. Hey, you've got all these enemy at your tree. That sounds like an emergency. Start spawning troops immediately. Start doing massive stuff. Like, yeah, they had crazy amounts of gold. Man, so they spawned a wizard early and were stealing gold. Look at the gold display. It had to tick all the way back down. Wow, that was crazy. I'm going to review the VOD and look closely at that gameplay. It was just bots playing. They were clearly doing something that I want to pay attention to. I want to see how imbalanced that got, because there was one side that was crazy. And they lost. Whoa, they had all that gold and they lost. So there's lots I can learn about that, like how to make the AI like not be that dumb and lose that. They had all that advantage and they still lost. That's crazy. But also, like, hey, was there totally an imbalance that I need to deal with? Is 2 minutes going to be enough of a cooldown, etc., etc., etc. To be fair, I did sort of load up these two players with lots of gold to start with, which is why we saw towers built and barricades built and lots of troops and things. But, yeah, I'll review the VOD and see what's up. So, today, we can see the current results of 6 weeks of work on this game. We have tower defense played at the bottom of the screen on a one-dimensional game. It's one line across the bottom of the screen, and there's towers you can build, barricades you can build, troops you can recruit, like marauders, engineers, archers, healers, and wizards. They all have special abilities that are unique. They cost different gold. You can get gold, you can spend gold, you can recruit troops, build buildings, and you try to take the enemy flag. Players can queue up. Players can match against a bot, or we can watch bots play against each other. The bots play reasonably well. And we're beginning to see how this best guess that I had early on about the different troop types and what they could do, how it's playing out. For example, how it is that archers, how valuable they are. I took a guess that, compared to marauders that cost 1 gold, maybe archers should cost 5. Well, I'm currently wondering if I think they should cost more because they're so valuable. Archers do a lot, and if you load up on archers, you're more likely to be able to win. Yet, maybe there's some counter. Well, there is a counter to archers. If you have 4 marauders, 3, 4, 5, you can bum rush an archer, and they can't do very much with that. The counter to archers that are sitting far away and lobbing arrows at you is to just send a bunch of marauders at them. In fact, if you send marauders with healers, you're almost guaranteed to take them out, because the archers can't do much damage. They only do damage from afar. And the closer you get, they're toast at that point. Okay, so we're at this stage where we can see some of these features implemented. So I knew, for example, that the tree shield needed to stop arrows, and I didn't see that before. But now I can see it because we're watching the game run, and I'm thinking about it. So we're able to implement the last rules. We're able to fix bugs like you can't cast a spell from a dead wizard, things like that. And we're going to continue to play test and let the game be what it is right now for a while, knowing that we have planned enhancements like upgrades to do later. This is a great place that we could call the end of the alpha stage. The game is effectively in an alpha stage where all the features are implemented in some form, bugs could still exist, and we could improve all the features in some ways, including tuning, bug fixing, and enhancements. After that, we would call it the end of beta, where we would then look for ways to make the game even better, given that all the stuff is working and bugs are fixed or something. That would be called polish. And before we called it final, we would try to get all of those extra things to make it even better done. And then we'd be done. But 6 weeks going through concept, prototype, and alpha, that's pretty good. If we were keeping on this pace, I would say there's another month. I'm going to let it sit here for a while, and maybe through the holidays, because it plays well. People can play right now. And I'm going to get a lot of information about how to improve, how to go forward, how to tune it. I'm going to get more bugs revealed that we can fix. That's a good thing. And plan for the enhancements in a really intentional way. I think I know what the wizard spells are going to be, for example, but it'd be better to think on it a little bit. So that's what we'll do. Hey, if you're watching this and you're wondering what the heck, an ape is making a game for chat. Welcome to hang out in the jungle and watch an ape do that. We can talk about game design. You can watch me make games with free software. You could do the same. If you join, we can talk about this, but also you can follow these VODs and watch the development of this game, after which we're going to go back to our other game, Shuffle Wars. It's a longer game, and we're doing art for that game right now. Character design and nice artwork for our battle card game. The cards need pretty artwork. So we'll go back to Shuffle Wars and do that game. But I think More Towers is looking pretty good. It's available for chat, so they're entertained while I do boring stuff. That's the whole point. Follow, like, subscribe, retweet, tell your friends, call your mom. Check your corners, stay in school. Enjoy. Do well, be good, stay safe. See ya.